Hi, I'm Nicole Kemper, writer, director, and producer at Critical Crop Top, and on this first Tutorial Tuesday, we're going to talk about project files and media files. While project files and media files are not as exciting as editing your project, they are really foundational to understanding the editing process and really helpful. Understanding them is really helpful to making you feel like you've got some control over what you're doing and that you're not going to just put your fist through your computer. So let's start with media files because those are the easiest to explain. So media files are the actual files that come off of your camera card. If you're downloading music, they're MP3 files, they're stills or stuff that you made in Photoshop, and those are probably being stored on some kind of external hard drive, or maybe they're being stored on your desktop. These are large files. Depending on how much footage you have, they can be really, really large files. One of the ways that I like to think about project files and media files is kind of a metaphor that we're building a house. So in a scenario where we're building a house, then your media files would be something like the wood and the nails and the raw materials that are being used to build your house. Project files, on the other hand, are created when you open Premiere. And actually this applies to any software platform that you're using. So whether you're using Premiere, which is what we're using for these tutorials, or whether you're using Avid or Final Cut or After Effects or anything like that, project files are what is created when you actually create the project in the software. So when I create a project for my edit in Premiere, I get a little project file. And those are actually very tiny files because they're mostly made up of stuff we call metadata, which is data about other data. So in the scenario where we're building a house, our project file is something like a blueprint. So a blueprint, when you're building a house, it has all the measurements of the doorways and where the windows are going to go and where the beams are going to go and stuff. But I'm not actually storing the raw materials. I'm not storing media files inside of my project. So project files and media files are two separate things. So I'm not storing media in my project, but those two things do have a relationship. They're connected. So when I create a project and I start importing media into that project, those project files are now pointing to the media files wherever they're being stored, whether that's on a hard drive or on my desktop computer. So there's a connection between those two things, but they're not the same thing. So that's why if, for example, you create a project and then you import the media, but then later you decide to move that media to a different place on your hard drive. And then you open up your project and you get this media offline message and you're like, oh my God, where did all my video and stuff go? So in that case, the connection has become broken, and that's where we see that media offline. We can go back in and relink those files, which is something we can tackle in another video. So just to recap, we've got media files, which are the actual files that came off of your camera card, or audio files, or still images. Those are the raw materials of your project. And then we've got our blueprint. We've got our project files that were created when we created our Premiere project. So those media files plus the project file, that's what makes up our house or our edit. And there you have it. So that's the relationship between project files and media files, and that's the end of our first tutorial. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any Tutorial Tuesdays. And while you're here, check out some of our short films, sketches, web series, podcasts. We got a lot of fun stuff on here, so check it out. If you've got a question about today's tutorial, or if you have anything that you'd like us to tackle in a future video, just leave us a comment below, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.